Geekard presents Back Issue Bloodbath with your hosts, Andrew Young and Petula Neal.
It's always great to start an episode about a comic creator using his own words about himself. Some days I feel like a street-walking cheetah with a heart full of napalm. Other days I feel like a stray cat with bad indigestion. Welcome to Back Issue Bloodbath. I'm Andrew Young.
I'm Petula Neal.
And this week, the creator who said those immortal words is David F. Walker. We're going to be talking about him today. So one thing that both me and Petula can agree with is that David F. Walker writes too many damn good books. There's so many books. We haven't had a chance to read all of them.
No, he's too prolific and too entertaining. Like there's some creator ones you can just like dip in and out. But yeah, I legit lost sleep to this man.
There you go. Yeah, no, he's a fantastic writer. Of course, aside from being a comic book writer, he's also an author, filmmaker, journalist, educator. He's taught courses on documentary filmmaking, writing for comics, film criticism, and has brought to comics a very interesting voice that really has also played with the Blaxploitation kind of elements in his own work.
Yeah, it's almost like a full circle into the film reference up to and including one of his earliest titles with Marvel, which was like a one-off in Battle World where you had Blade fighting Vampire Duck and meeting Howard the Duck. And then, because that's not enough, you get basically the duck version of Blade quoting the movie Some Motherfuckers Always Want to Ice Skate Uphill.
So I guess it changed to Mother Duckers.
Well, they just use a bunch of special characters.
They've used some growlings. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then Blade is like, that's a good line. I need to remember that one. Like, who is this man? And why isn't he writing all the things?
He does a good job when he works in both Marvel and DC, when it's a pre-existing character, of doing a really good job of capturing the essence of the character. It's almost like, here's the best version of that character you love. And I think it's best shown during the Power Man and Iron Fist series that he did with
funny.
He did with Sanford Green. And I remember when that book came out, I was so excited because for years, I just wanted to see Power Man and Iron Fist put back together. Because if you go back and look at the original Power Man and Iron Fist series, the first guy who wrote those two characters together was Chris Claremont. And there's some okay stories, but then as time progressed, it became the book where they try new writers out. So there's a lot of like choppiness and everything. While there's good memories about the series, sitting down and reading a run from end to end, there's just as many misses as there are hits. And for years, I've been sitting there going, I want to see them do like a good version of this book, because now there's enough knowledgeable creators out there who have a love of both Luke Cage and Iron Fist, who grew up in the 70s reading those characters, that they can do like a good story. And throughout the 90s and early 2000s, there was a series of misses because they were always trying to add more to the element of like, well, we'll give them like a full team, or we'll call it the Heroes for Hire, but we won't have either of them in the book. And like some of those series, like the Heroes for Hire without them in the book was still pretty good because it had the Daughters of the Dragon. But some of these other ones where they're like, we're going to have the Heroes for Hire be like 10 people and stuff like that. It just wasn't what I wanted to read, what a lot of like fans of Power Man and Iron Fist wanted to read. And then this book comes out and it's everything you want. It's balls to the wall action. It's references to the previous series, but not alienating references because they're still kind of fun. It fits in with the core stories that are happening in Marvel at the time. And so the inclusion of Jessica Jones is kind of like an interesting little pairing there. And Danny's belief that Jessica hates him. And Luke,
and Danny's like just a thirsty nerd that wants to hang out with his really cool friend again.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically like, I'm a Zen millionaire guy who basically can do whatever he wants. And all I want to do is hang out with my best buddy, Luke Cage, the ultimate working man hero, who's just always seems like he's like, man, like no matter what age Luke Cage is, if you were to hear him say, I'm too old for this shit, it'd be like, yeah, no, that feels normal coming out of his mouth.
Yeah. It's keep that same energy is low energy with Luke. Yeah.
They're a great pairing. And there's like, I think it's like issue 5 or 6. There's like a radio DJ that's talking about how Power Man and Iron Fist are back together. And he says the real dynamic duo. And to me, when I read that, I'm like, yeah, they are my dynamic duo, Power Man and Iron Fist. They're the best.
And this version of Luke does, I'd say, probably one of the best jobs of low-key reminding Danny of his privilege as they move through the world. So that is something that I think other writers, because of their background, maybe they touch on it once or twice, but it's a challenge for Danny to like remember why Luke and other people react to things a certain way and why he doesn't. And where their reunion sort of stretches into the Civil War too, and he goes to jail and he's sort of with these other people of color that are incarcerated even though they didn't do anything wrong. That's where Danny gets to sort of have that moment of really more understanding kind of what Luke has been trying to tell him all along.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But then also Danny reminds Luke, because Luke has turned his life around, that, yeah, but you were in jail too for something that you didn't do. Like, we have to help these guys. It's like this weird moment of, you know, Danny's idealism kind of bumping up against sort of Luke's world weary kind of, well, they're just criminals. And that was why they are a good pair. They're a good couple.
Yeah. No, they're fantastic. And
They're
Walker
at their
really,
best together. Yeah. Here's the thing. We all know what happened with the TV shows. I want a new TV show written by David Walker on Disney Plus of these two together. Y'all, this stuff is so good. It almost makes me want to be like, well, maybe I will try to do all of Civil War too, like I did all of Civil War. And I have to remember not to fall for it.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Just like I did with the Wolverine book that was so good within Civil War. And I was like, maybe it'll all be, no, it's not gonna all be this good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Power Man and Iron Fist stuff is like legit good. And then again in the like, oh, you got me again, you suckers. Like the crossover, they bring in a character from one of my other favorite books, and I don't want to spoil it. But when they do that, and I was just like, damn you, David Walker. Like, I already struggle with like looking at everything this man's created, and like everything I touch, I want to read more and I want to read more.
Right.
But that was the point when I saw that character. I was like, no, I have to stop and read 5 other of your things. So we don't spend all of our time talking about Power, because we're going to probably do some Power Man and Iron Fist. So we need to talk about some other stuff.
Right. But the one thing I do want to mention with the Power Man and Iron Fist, I think it's in the first story arc of the Power Man and Iron Fist series that we get some really fun reverse objectification where basically Spider-Woman is watching Luke Cage and Danny Rand duke it out with some baddies, and Luke Cage's shirt is getting destroyed, and Spider-Woman was just watching because she just likes watching, you know, the shirt get ripped off Luke Cage.
Yeah. Like, do we need to get involved? What we need is to get this shirt off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same girl, same.
Yeah. No. And then there's also annual that we've actually covered on Geekard for that series. It's a Christmas issue. That's really good.
Christmas issue?
Sweet Christmas. It's a fantastic book. One of the best modern Christmas comics I've ever read. Definitely worth checking out. Now, one of the first books that you and I ever reviewed together on Bloodbath is a David F. Walker written title, Naomi.
Which is just fantastic. And DC. So there we go. Diversity.
There you go. We've mentioned another, yes, mentioned a non-Marvel title. There you go.
Yeah. And, you know, Naomi was one of, you know, your favorite new characters of that year.
Yeah, totally. And of course, him and Bendis put that together. And it's kind of funny, in my opinion, Walker and Bendis are kind of like the dynamic duo of the Portland area. They've taught together at university, and they'd always been looking for a comic work they could do together. And of course, I've mentioned it before, the whole Bendis almost dying thing. I know I bring this up like almost every 3 or 4 episodes, but it's kind of like a modern, you know, folk tale in the comics world of like, wow, a comic creator almost dies, comes back and starts doing some of the best work of his life. And one of those titles was Naomi, which, while he couldn't see and was in the hospital, him and David F. Walker put together the idea completely for Naomi. And I believe Walker also ended up writing some of the Young Justice series with Bendis as well. So that's a cool little dynamic duo there.
Yeah, he's great with super people who have a unique problem, often to do with their background. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know, he also for DC wrote Cyborg as well, but it was still during the New 52 era. So probably would have been better if there wasn't so many editorial constraints of that era. He, of course, also did Luke Cage, But like one book I do want to talk about before we move away from the superhero stuff is one that I've only gotten a chance to read a little bit of, and we're probably going to do an episode in the future about, and that is Occupy Avengers. And that stars Hawkeye, and it's shortly after Secret Empire and the events of Clint Barton having to kill Bruce Banner, who basically told him, if I ever turn into the Hulk again, you have to kill me. And so he's on the road. He's trying to do small. He's almost doing like the Bruce Banner from the TV show from the 70s of going town to town, trying to not be a big influence on things, but has come in to like solve a problem. But in this situation, Hawkeye's a celebrity. And so people see him coming from miles away, and they first thing want to tell him is like, it's so great that you killed the Hulk. Yeah, the Hulk was a rampaging menace. And he doesn't want to hear that. And and
they don't want to hear that Bruce asked for it.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I actually want to read just a little bit from the comic because it's very obvious within these 3 pages that David F. Walker should also write a Hawkeye comic, because like on the regular, go back to because like this Occupy Avengers was great. Let's see him go back to this, because he gets the essence of Clint Barton right down to a science. He says, don't think for a second that I don't know what people say about me. I'm the guy who brings a bow and arrow to a gunfight. But here's the thing. Guns are impersonal. Knives are brutal. But an arrow, that's elegant. It is a handwritten letter in an age of text messages. A bow and arrow really says, from me to you, with love and kisses. When a cosmic entity threatens to destroy the world, you do something about it. Shape-shifting aliens invade your planet, you take a stand. But what do you do when the water supply of a town is contaminated? When the rights of the poor and the powerless are ignored because, well, they're poor and powerless. How do you fight that? Thanos, he's formidable, but he's not a contaminated water supply. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Life was never simple, but it was never this complicated. And then Bruce Banner asked me to do him a favor. Clint, I wouldn't come to you if there was any other choice. Banner says to me, I need you to promise me if I ever turn into the Hulk again, I need you to stop me once for all. No one thinks they're the villain, but hell, not everyone gets to be the hero. Reading that is just like,
that's gorgeous.
Damn, he is so good at like summing up a character to its core things, still making it like in the moment of what you need to know, but like the essence of a character, and can deliver it in a way that it doesn't feel like somebody's monologuing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The whole voiceover is overlaid over some of the most beautiful ultraviolence, where he's pinned down.
Yeah.
By like a group of people with guns.
Basically neo-Nazis. They're not described as that, but that's basically what they are.
He's pinned down. And then on top of that, he's remembering other violence, like remembering having to kill a Hulk, remembering like stuff with Thanos. So it's like this thoughtful, sweet sort of moment that you're thinking, oh God, is this a bunch of panels of like Hawkeye like sitting on a perch somewhere kind of observing? No, he's literally in the middle of like a firefight and having these musings. And it's a great kind of way to look at, well, how does Hawkeye like maintain his, composure and focus and aim in the middle of a fight? Like, this is a great take on it. Like, he's just thinking about deep shit. He's just like having his musings. Like,
yeah, it's very much like he comes into that series with a conscience of crisis and is trying to do what he can, but he hasn't figured that out yet. And of course, as the story progresses, he kind of figures out what he wants to do with it.
Yeah, it's a great series. I had to stop because I was like, I know we're going to want to do this later because it's that good.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go all the way in because I didn't want to do that thing where I read and then have to reread the whole thing again. Because yeah.
Yeah. And we're actually now going to also talk about another book he does that we'll probably do a full episode on. And that is Bitter Root.
Oh my God.
Comic series, also drawn by Sanford Green. It's fantastic, which he co-writes with Chuck Brown. It's on hiatus right now, but it's coming back in, I think, just a couple of months. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what the series is about?
So y'all, I know like the Afrofuturism is real hot right now. Bitter Root is ethno-gothic. That's a new phrase I learned from the back of this book because, like we said, this man writes on rights on rights. And you have a classic trope, a family that fights evil. We've seen it, whether you've got your boys in a car in Supernatural or your family with sort of powers that are passed down like a Black Lightning. Here, we've set it in like the 1920s. We do have kind of some flashbacks into like earlier times, But in general, this family is fighting demon spirits that take over humans when their souls are no longer clean.
Yes, and
And
basically racial hate is what brings that evilness to the soul. Yeah.
yes, but then twist, people of color can also be infected, but it's a different kind of infection. And it appears to be born out of the rage based on their oppression.
Yeah.
So we get a kind of tipping point where this family of demon hunters also has to deal with how this growing infection is affecting them and their community. So there's a real sort of battle that like pops off in Harlem. But then we also have like within the family, they have their own conflicts like any family would, but especially a family of demon hunters. You have like the roles of the patriarchy where one of the young women in the family is like, I want to be out letting people catch these hands. I don't want to be grinding herbs back at home. And you have like the matriarch, like a grandmother. I don't know. She's old. She's like, she can still lay it down with her like fighting stick, but she's like, we need to think about this. We have to like stick to our traditions. We have to help people. People come for food and comfort. We have to do that. And then we have like the young hotheads, the younger people in family trying to prove themselves, estranged uncle. Like you have like every, not just Black, but just every like effed up family dynamic in the middle of this kind of family of Black demon hunters in Harlem in the 1920s. It's lush. The art is as lush as his writing. So it's just layers on layers on layers.
No, totally. And yeah, the Sangrier family, the thing that's really interesting about them as well is that, as you said, you got all these dynamics within, but then you've also got like the main core belief of the family that is almost like a rehabilitation. The idea of like, we can cure these people and remove the demonic spirit sort of thing. Then there's the outside, the outlier of the relationship from the family that's been long estranged, so much so that they technically don't even 100% know him that well. His belief is no, if it's there, you just got to kill it. Got to kill it.
Yeah.
And his sidekick is kind of interesting at the same time because his sidekick is a kid that was potentially going to go down that path and be a straight up full racist, but now is using his knowledge to help him find racists.
Yeah. He rescues, he thinks he's rescuing one person from a lynching. And again, I don't really know if his objective is rescue. I think his objective, to your point, was just murdering the white devils, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But then this one person, they don't show their true demon face because their soul has not yet been corrupted, because they hadn't yet actually participated in any kind of act like that and hadn't truly embraced the hate in the hearts that the others had.
Mhm.
So he rescues this one man that's about to be lynched, but then this young white man kind of just starts following him around. Because he's like, well, kind of into this. Plus, I can help you find more racists. Plus, like, you told me to like keep my soul clean, but I feel like this person knows if they go back home to like, the people they hung out with,
They'll just get the same shit given into them, like into their head.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's it's weird, but it has a familiar enough tropes that you can sort of follow along, but it does them in a very different way.
Right. And because it takes place in the 20s as well, it hits on a lot of cultural touchstones from that era involving oppression of the Black people. So like one of the antagonists of the story is a survivor from the Tulsa massacre. Actually, yeah. It really digs into the history of the time to build its backdrop as well, which is fantastic.
If you like TV's Watchmen, you may also like Bitter Ridge.
Yeah, exactly. It's another one that deserves a whole episode to itself because, like everything else that David F. Walker writes, whether it's like a fun, fancy free kind of like book like Power Man and Iron Fist, or this dark kind of horror like Bitter Root, it is dense with information, dense with subtext, dense with message.
I mean, and he does like just one-off stuff that is Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, time travel back to interact with white Nick Fury. Like, okay, sure, this is happening. Yeah.
No, totally. Yeah. Then, he did Nighthawk. He's done a lot of great stuff within mainstream comics and then is doing great stuff like Bitter Root and stuff like that. But he's also got some new graphic novels out there looking at Black history. In fact, the Black Panther Party, a graphic novel history, came out like just a week before we were recording this.
Just in time for Black History Month, folks. If you're still feeling guilty about racial injustice and you don't want to read another long educational book, read a long educational book with pictures. Yeah. It's the Black Panther Party, a graphic novel history. And it's literally like a history book. Like they don't turn, Huey and Bobby into comic book characters. It's like a very informative, detailed history of the forming of the Black Panthers. You get organizational info. You get like a visual org chart at one point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is dense. It is super detailed. And if you ever had questions about the Black Panther Party and how they started and some of their original objectives and some of their conflicts with other organizers, and then some of the community outreach stuff like breakfast programs for kids, other things like that were definitely on the nonviolent side. It wasn't all about protection of the community with guns. It was kind of about that too.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's been a major misrepresentation over the years of it being just about that.
Yeah. And throughout you're introduced to characters who, they seem cool, but then it turns out that they were embedded there by the FBI.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get some little asterisks like, yes, and later on documents revealed that this person that helped them get guns was also a plant of the FBI. Yeah, it's super informative and would be a great read for Black History Month if you feel like, I don't know, throwing some money at your guilt or learning. Yeah.
I think the learning part would definitely be good. Yes.
Yeah. But it's still David Walker. So even though it's history, it's just the writing is informative and beautiful. And he works on this book with Marcus Kwame Anderson. It's just a great one to pick up. We have to just briefly mention Superb, which is another one.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's another not major producer title. And think Rising Stars meets Naomi. And then this is where it does something different. There's a town where there's been an event, an asteroid. A bunch of people have started to develop abilities. They call them enhanced. And this young woman who's recently moved back to town with her parents who work for the evil company that is testing and taking all the young enhanced people. She realizes her old friend from when she was growing up, a young man named Jonah who has Down syndrome, is Cosmosis, like a local hero who at night after school gets in a costume and runs around saving people. So you get a superhero duo of a young Black woman and a young white man with Down syndrome. David F. Walker, y'all. I can't even. And it's good. It's really good.
We're really big fans of David F. Walker, but the two of us didn't realize how big of fans we were until we decided we were going to do this episode. That's what I find hilarious, is that David Walker has been writing this good shit for a number of years. And the two of us just realized that, we've really been enjoying it for a number of years. We just didn't put two and two together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Stealth pleasure giver. David F. Walker.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely go pick up some David F. Walker stories. I recommend Power Man and Iron Fist and Bitterroot, Naomi. They're all great reads.
Yeah. Nighthawk, I'd say that's where he's at his most working out Black people anger stuff. So if you're feeling some type of way right now, it's a bit cathartic.
Yeah. There's a lot of punchy in that book and more.
Yeah.
We've come to the end of another episode of Back Issue Bloodbath. Petula, where can people find you?
At inative.com, on Twitter at Obesacantavit, OBESACANTAVIT, and here with you.
And of course, you can find everything I do at geekardshow.com. Follow me on Twitter at geekard. Follow this very show on Facebook at Back Issue Bloodbath, where we got our classic panels every Monday. And we want to hear from you. So you can send us a message there saying what you'd like us to review, or send us an email at geekardshow@gmail.com with Back Issue Bloodbath in the subject line, and tell us what you want us to talk about next, or if you have questions or comments about previous episodes, let us know there too. This has been Back Issue Bloodbath. I've been Andrew Young.
I've been Petula Neal.
Have yourself a good